So today we have Christine Herr with ArtForce Iowa. Hi, Christine. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for being here today. We're looking forward to the conversation. I wanted to give you this chance to introduce a bit about yourself, and then we can jump right into the questions.
Cool. Hi, everybody. I'm Christine Herr, Des Moines native. My parents are refugees and they came here in the late 70s. So it's always interesting to kind of talk about my family history and my parents' journey to America. My dad actually came straight here from the refugee camp in Thailand. And that's why I'm a Des Moines, Iowan. So it's been here my whole life and I have family across the US, but I call Iowa home and I'm an East High grad, Drake grad, and now I'm the executive director of ArtForce Iowa, which I really love. And I love my family and I love my work family and the team that I have at ArtForce. So I'm excited to be
Awesome.
here.
Yes. So can you give us a brief overview of ArtForce Iowa in case somebody hasn't heard of it already?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually going to share the origin story of ArtForce because it's a story that we just recently started sharing back in
Mm.
2019. So the organization was conceived by a man who was convicted of attempted murder and terrorism right here in Des Moines. He handwrote 2 novels while he was in jail, and they were released before he was released. And then after serving his time, he was working on a third manuscript and wanted some help. So he started taking some classes at DMAC where he met Yvette Herman, who is one of our full-time employees right now. And she's also one of the founding members of the organization. And she was an adjunct professor at DMAC. And he was like, hey, help me write my manuscript. Help me with reviewing this. And so she said, okay, I'll help you with that. And in mentor-mentee relationships, you get to know each other a little bit better. And she shared with him, I'm also a teaching artist. So I don't just do writing and theater. I help other people. And he just became really curious about what that meant to be a teaching artist. And he, told her, I wish I had something like that growing up. I wish I had a caring adult and I had art. And I think if I had these things, maybe I wouldn't be where I am today.
Mm.
And that really launched all of ArtForce Iowa, right? He told her so boldly, I want to be the last Black kid that recognizes I'm an artist because I'm in jail.
Right.
And that created the Creative Pathways program, which is still a program that we have today at ArtForce Iowa. It serves, you know, kids who are involved in the juvenile court system and kids who are maybe involved in family court. So, think about adoption and foster care system, and then young people who have, endured significant trauma as young people. Um, and in 2016, we decided that we had another demographic of young people that we wanted to serve. So refugee, immigrant, and first generation American born youth. And together, we've just had so much fun getting this big family to make art, but also recognize and do some self-reflection to heal and grow. Our mission is to transform youth in need through art, but ArtForce is going through a rebranding. So it's not going to be that mission for
Oh,
long. So we're excited to be able to change our mission to be more reflective of who we are. But we'll share that later. Right now, it's still transforming youth in need through art. And we just provide all kinds of services from, hey, how do we help you be a better artist, to let's teach you some financial literacy so that you can sell your own artwork and make some money, to, hey, what's going on in school? What do you need at home? So ArtForce Iowa, we really want to focus our efforts on prioritizing the holistic family, the holistic
mm,
child. We know we can't have amazing artists if they're worried about what they're going to eat or
right.
if they're going to have a place to sleep in. So for us, we say, hey, we care about it all and we want to do our best to accommodate where we can. And if there are things that we can't do, then we'll work with our partners to make sure that they can get what they need. So that's what we do at ArtForce, and that's what we serve.
Awesome. So, in regards to yourself and your personal journey of becoming part of ArtForce Iowa, how did you get involved and what are some of the things that you really love about it?
Yeah, so I got involved with ArtForce back in 2015. I was working at the Des Moines Register at the time, and I became really good friends with the program manager for the Pathways program. At that time, there was only the Pathways program. So it was, it wasn't the demographic that I would eventually become a full program manager for, but I just came on board as an artist mentor. We hire professional working artists to mentor our youth. And so my friend Molly was like, hey, I think you would be really great because you love young people and you sing and you write music and you went to school for writing. So you should come. And at first I was just like, oh, I don't know, maybe. I don't know if I could teach that or mentor someone in that because
Mm.
I was dealing with imposter syndrome too. But then I came in 2015 and I just fell in love with the young people um, and in love with what the whole program was standing for and providing this space for young people to just express themselves. But that's how I got involved. And then in 2016, I became the program manager for the Heroes program that serves refugee and immigrant youth. And then in 2017 was asked to step up as executive director.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So, how many people are currently, I guess, like the teaching artists?
teaching artist right now for us.
Yeah.
Um, well, because of COVID, that number has really decreased because
Right.
we've been trying to keep our community safe.
Hmm.
So I'm going to give you numbers prior to COVID because I want to get back to what
Right.
that looked like. But we had anywhere from like 20 to 30 artist mentors
Wow.
teaching different mediums. But we're really youth led. So if a young person's like, I don't care about creative writing, I just really want to take photos, then our job is to find a photographer who wants to mentor a young person in that art. So that's why we have a lot because they all do very different things. Some of them do similar things. Um, but that way young people can feel like they have a mentor that they can go to. So
Perfect.
yeah.
All right. So can I I was poking around on your website and I saw something about the three force model. Can you explain that a bit to us? The art force, workforce, and life force?
Yeah. So ArtForce is everything that we do, right? We want to make sure that everything we have at ArtForce, it's arts related. So whether it's a young person exploring their feelings and emotions through art to learning how to make different kinds of art, that's the ArtForce component. The workforce component really comes into the piece where we want our young people to feel ready to join the workforce or to go to college if that's what they want to
Mm.
pursue. So we provide opportunities like financial literacy certificates to, all right, now that we're in COVID times, we're going to meet virtually. So now you're going to get a Google Calendar invite and you're going to have to accept that invite, send us emails. So just doing like those really soft skills
Right.
is the workforce component. But we also want to provide opportunities for young people to sell their art and make money. And that's where the financial literacy piece with the workforce and entrepreneurship comes in. And then the biggest one of all, of course, is Life Force, where we really want all of the adults who are part of ArtForce, whether they are a volunteer or a staff or a board member or an artist mentor. Our goal is to always be a safe place, a person that young people can go to, um,
Mm.
and really be that life force so that they never feel like they're alone
Right.
or that they feel like they belong somewhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But so that's the three forces at ArtForce.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you. And so that is one differentiator of your program. And I know you talked about it being really student driven and interest driven by the youth who participate. Are there other things that differentiate your program from others that might be available in the community right now?
Yeah, ArtForce, we are the only arts and youth-led organization that hosts workshops in Polk County Juvenile Detention,
Mm,
right? And I think it's a very unique and a very special thing to be able to have those kinds of workshops and have an establishment like juvenile detention trust us,
right.
right, to be there with young people. I think what makes ArtForce so unique is all of the approaches that we use in every workshop. So whether it's, training adults and providing professional development, to having workshops with young people and meeting them in their classroom or meeting them at ArtForce, we utilize healing-centered engagement. And so what that means is we care about how you feel. We care if you are healing, because
Mm,
we recognize that our healing is contingent of your healing too. And it really matters if the community is healing.
right.
So that's important to us. And that's in every engagement, whether it's a conversation or, like I said, a training or a workshop. And I think that's what makes ArtForce so different, is that we really prioritize what healing and self-discovery and purpose and growth and safety, what those values look like
Mhm.
and what they mean to us, so that they can lead every workshop and every discussion that we have. And these values are based off of what our youth value, right? And what each individual person at ArtForce believes in too. So we can collectively come together and honor each other's values and make space for other people who might have a different value.
Right.
But ArtForce is unique in that. And it's definitely the young people who make it even more unique. So we're lucky.
Yeah, that's great. That's a very strong social justice component leading it. So I appreciate that. So what are some of the things that these artists, these young artists, have been creating during your program, and how do you sell?
Yeah. So they've created all kinds of things. We get young people who they just want to make music. They just want to make beats, and that music is available to listen to,
Mm,
right? We have some young people who are like, I just want to take photos. And so they'll go on photo walks. Well, they'll just take photos of what they see while going out on a walk, to things like, I actually want to do a self-portrait, or
mm,
I just want to paint with acrylic today and I don't want to do anything else. So young people are making all kinds of things. We've got a young person right now who's really, really wanting to just do jewelry. So
yeah.
she's been bending wire and writing words with the wire and turning that into jewelry. We have another artist who's really phenomenal, and she just makes these really beautiful tiny patterns on a piece of paper, and every line is super intentional.
Mm,
And so that's really cool to see her kind of developed her own craft on making sure that it's something that represents who she is and what she wants it to be visually. But basically everything and anything. We got kids who knit, we have kids who sew, um, everything. So they've been creating all kinds of things, and you can buy these things on our website at artforceiowashop.com. It's always available all year. And later on this year, over the Black Friday weekend, our young people are encouraged to make more holiday-y stuff to sell and make money. But that will be available over the Black Friday weekend on our shop as
wonderful.
well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So in terms of how many active artists there are in in your youth cohort, what would you say at any given time?
Oh, at any given time, that's so difficult too, because within our own enrolled programs,
Mhm.
it's anywhere from 60 to 75.
Okay.
But we also meet kids right where they are,
Right.
right? Because we know that we have a capacity limit and we can't have hundreds of kids with us after school. So we meet them in their classrooms, in
Mm,
detention, in placement, and shelter. And when we do that, we have anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 kids a year.
awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's fun, and it provides an opportunity for teachers to be able to have some respite care as well
Right.
in the classroom. So
So during the school year, I imagine on a normal time, and maybe not so much during COVID, you're active during during some of the school sessions and after school.
yeah,
So do you run any summer type programs?
for us, our programs are all year round. So is our enrollments.
Oh,
So
okay.
we never stop anything. Everything is always ongoing all the time. Just because, there's always a young person in need, right?
Right.
Who wants connections and who wants to make art. And we don't want to be like, dude, come back in the fall,
Right.
because then they're like, well, I don't want to come anymore. So for us, it's like, how do we just get them right when they're interested? So we do have two different types of workshops, and a case management workshop
Hmm.
where you come after school. And when I say case management, that just means we are more involved in making sure that they have what they need.
Hmm.
And then we have the ArtForce Everywhere kind of program, where we're going to go where the kids are because they can't always come to us. So that includes their classrooms, their placements, their shelter, the juvenile detention center, or maybe it's, a camp, a youth camp over the summer, just wherever young people are and they're not normally enrolled into our case management program. And those happen simultaneously all at the same time.
Right. Right. That's awesome. That's good to hear. Yeah, it makes sense to not have a break in it where they you have to try to get them back into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it worked, and it really works for us because I know some amazing nonprofits out there, they do have a stop and a go, right?
Mhm.
Where it's like,
Right.
hey, like school open enrollment is in the fall and then we're kind of done in the spring, then you have to open enroll again. But for us, it's when you're working with families and young people who have historically been marginalized and minoritized, that's not the same privilege and luxury that they have.
Right.
And so, if we really want to do system change work and end some of those cycles that have nothing to do with who they are and everything to do with outside barriers,
Hmm.
then we got to meet them where they are and we got to do it that way. It's got to look a little different.
Right. Right. For
So, it
sure.
just so happens that it works for us to keep it like that.
Yeah. So I know you alluded to changes in the mission and things like that. So um y- again, of course, feel free just to talk as you can. But how are you envisioning that things are going to change, or what needs are you seeing that you're hoping that you can fulfill in the future, maybe?
Yeah, so we're going to be going through a rebrand, and I know we're really excited to just share what we've been doing and why we're making this change. Um, but I won't share that here yet because
Mhm.
I'm still waiting for what that looks like for our entire team. But I do know that that's coming, and what I'm envisioning right now is the ability to have more, not just control, but have more influence on how we engage with communities,
Mm.
right? So if, ArtForce Iowa, if we care about healing, what does that really mean? And so envisioning this community effort where we're all nourishing each other and we're doing that self-reflection, that self-care, that self-discovery. I'm envisioning ArtForce Iowa playing a role in being able to have those kinds of conversations
Mhm.
with young people, with partners, with the community at large. Because at the end of the day, it's so critical for all of us to be on a healing journey. Because hurt people,
Right.
right? And so we all need healing. Like no one is so lucky that they don't have any healing. We all have it, and it's messy and it hurts to go through healing. So I'm just envisioning ArtForce, playing a role in a healing journey for many, many people, and providing a space where we can come together with all of our messiness and say, hey, let's make some art with this. I know that the biggest need that I see, not just in our community, but, nationwide, worldwide, is just being able to really uplift and amplify the authentic storyteller.
Yeah.
Right? And how can we continue to honor people and their stories, and then share their stories and teach their stories so that we can preserve what we know to be true. Um, so I know, right now, we just launched this project called No Justice, the Legacy Collection,
Mm.
and it just aims to collect and preserve the stories of local Iowans. And in this first phase, we're working on collecting and preserving stories from those who have refugee or immigrant background or origins, right?
Yeah.
Which at the end of the day, it's every single one of us, right? We're all not from here unless you are native,
Mm.
a Native American. And so it's been really exciting to be able to say we really care about these stories. And we're working with a team of amazing artists, including our youth, to create these beautiful content from the stories. So maybe it's a documentary or a short story or a graphic novel, but we're working with artists to have these, stories be shared and told to the community. And then we're also working with academic scholars who will create K-12 curricula and discussion guides from these stories. And so I see a need that so many of these stories are
Mm.
not taught in school.
Right.
Right? I think of our own histories, right? They're limited from our curriculum in school.
Right.
And we already know that when young people can see themselves in what they learn, there is a boost of confidence and self-worth. So I see that there's this need to fill that gap. And what better way than to fill that gap with real Iowan stories and make it relevant and relative to who we are and where we live. But I'm excited to have the community get involved because this is not just ArtForce Iowa. This is a digital archive that is built by the community for the community, and the community has all of the rights and hopefully the responsibility to fill up the archive as well with their stories. So that's something that's been new and changing at ArtForce, and we're just so excited to continue to collect these stories and really just let people know who their neighbors are. And if we can do that, then we can lead with a lot of love and empathy.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you so much for that, Christine. If somebody would like to contact ArtForce and get involved either, as uh, artist mentor or as a donor or just to support the shop, what's the best way to go about doing that?
I would say find us on social media or go onto our website at artforceiowa.org. That's also our social media handle on Facebook and Instagram. And we're on Twitter too, but not very much. But if you just message us on any of those platforms, we will get in touch with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Christine. Always a pleasure to connect with you, but also just to hear about what's going on. I'm very excited about what's coming up next and for your rebranding. So,
Cool. Thanks, Catherine. There's
yeah.
just been so many changes, and it's nice to see how resilient the youth are, because I think our staff have been more like, oh my gosh, now we have to do this. And all the young people, they're like, all right, cool. And I keep thinking like, man, we don't give young people enough credit for the strength and the resilience and the how agile they are and just being able to adapt to any situation.
Right.
Um, so I really look to them for a lot of strength and resiliency because they have it. They have it.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for your time. And I hope to connect soon. I know I'll be heading out, but yes, we will connect with you. And thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll meet again soon. Take care.
Bye.